Am I staying in here? Is there people online? Oh, okay. Alrighty. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is my first time hosting this meeting, and it's kind of like, I haven't been here in a while either, but thank you for allowing me to host the meeting. And with all that said, I would like you to bring Mr. John Hanson up to the front and take over for us.
Like put a picture of my girlfriend Stevie next to because I wanted to start out here. I wanted you to listen to just the very beginning of this Stevie Nicks song called Edge of 17. Okay, now what I want you to do is when you hear this first stanza, first words she sings, if you've already looked it up, don't play, but I want you to just think, what did she sing? What were the words that she said when she starts out on this song? Okay, and don't say it out loud, I just want you to think. Okay, go ahead.
Just like the wide-winged dove.
What did she say? Who, without having looked it up, who thinks they know what she just said?
I saw somebody lip syncing.
What did she just say?
Just like the wild.
Just like the what?
Wild wing.
The wild wing what?
Does.
Does?
Does.
Oh, just like the wild
Does.
wind does. Does anyone else hear something?
Wild wind does.
Wild wind does. Anyone hear anything else?
Yeah.
In the song, she sings it over and over and over again. And I admit that for, how long has that been now? 25 years. I love that song, so I just love singing it in the shower with the wrong words, all the wrong words, which I've done for all those years. And I just looked it up the other day. And I said to my real girlfriend, not her, my real girlfriend, I said, you know what she says? And I looked it up and she said, oh, she said what she thought it said. No, I thought it said this, and she laughed. So it says, just like the white-winged dove, just like the white-winged dove is what it says, right?
What did you thought it said, John?
I thought it said, just like the what do we do? And so sometimes, so my point in doing that is sort of an attention getter for what I want to go over with you today is that sometimes what we're hearing, what we're experiencing or observing isn't what we thought it was. Sometimes it's something very, very different. And we've got to keep our minds open to those things. And so I'd like you to have a little bit of an open mind as I talk to you a little bit about mind management today, because one of the things we don't get in school that I didn't get till I was starting at around age 55, I started learning about mind management. And now that I've been grasping it more and more and practicing it more and more, I'm just amazed. I thought, how did I ever get through life without understanding how to manage my own thoughts, right? So we have stuff that happens, right? We have things in our business that occur to us. Sometimes a buyer or a seller of ours changes their mind. Sometimes the buyer or seller on the other side of the transaction changes their mind. Sometimes interest rates start to go up a little bit. You know, sometimes another agent steals your client. All kinds of things happen, right? But whatever the event, whatever that event is, as human beings, we give meaning to it. Once the event happens, it doesn't really even have any meaning. But our minds create a meaning for it. So a thought comes into our mind. So the thought model is a 5-step model that I've just always loved. So the first step is the event that happens, something happens. Then following that event, remember there's no meaning with that until we give it meaning. So the thought happens next. And when that thought occurs, then we label it, we give it meaning, all kinds of things to that event that has happened through our thought, which might be wrong. And so through life coaching, I had this one life coach who always question, when we would do coaching, and she would always question my thought. And I would make a statement. I said, "This is what," she'd say, what makes you think that? And what makes you believe your thought? Why would any of your thoughts be true? Do you ever have thoughts that are not true? See, one of my least favorite words is absolutely. It's a word that is overused so much in our society today because it's a way of shutting people up. What do you think of this? Do you think that that's beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. How are you going to argue with absolutely, right? Well, it's not absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's all right, but I would say absolutely, kind of thing. So there's always margin for error. So the third step, well, before we go through this, let's go to the third step. So the third step in this is the emotion. So once we think a thought, the thought creates the emotion. So if the thought is, first of all, the thought makes our ego feel better. I got to remember my notes sometimes. The thought makes our ego feel better because it gives us a false conclusion to things. Because the mind is always seeking out conclusions and answers to everything, right? And so our mind creates it, which may or may not be true, but because our mind created it, it must be true, right? That's what I used to do all the time. And so then the emotion comes, and when the emotion comes, there's really no more control because it removes conscious thought and reasoning. And it pushes us to respond. That's a dangerous combination. So I like to, whenever I would talk about this, I like to use my fingers, and so the event occurs, and then the thought happens, and then the emotion is the appropriate middle finger here for that emotion, because that's how I feel about that emotion, right? So what happens when I hit that emotion is I step back mentally. I step back and I say, wait, what was the thought? What was the thought that I just had that led to that emotion? And that little step I just mentioned here is so important for me, has been so important for me, and is important to teach, to your clients in a way that you're not doing this, but you're just talking to your client and you see their emotional reaction to something. So there's a thought, and then you just say, so what was your thought? I can see that what your reaction is. What was the thought that you just had before that? Well, the deal's falling through. We're going to have to cancel our plans to move to Montana and whatever it is, right? And so that takes hold. There comes all kinds of conclusions, not realizing that there are steps that we can take, probably, right, to go back and get that house sold and maybe not miss a heartbeat. So both for our own use and for our clients, I think it's really important to get used to these steps and master this. And we master it by practicing for ourselves, and then we can help others do it, right? Without telling them the steps, just say, just ask the question, what was the thought you had before that emotion? What was the thought that what went through your mind? Let them articulate it. And then when they ask the thought, so here's what I wanted well, I'll just finish. So after the emotion, then comes the response, right? So the emotion actually pushes you into a response, which may or may not be the right thing to do. And once the response happens, you get a result. Fifth step, the result occurs, which may not be what's best for the client, which may not be what's best for you. It just happens, right? So we've got to go back to the thought. When we go back to the thought, I like to use something that Byron Katie calls the work. So if you know who Byron Katie is, she wrote a few books, but the first one I read is called Loving What Is. And so in it, she talks about the work, which is it's just amazing. She goes through in the book, she goes through examples and she talks about, her own life of abuse and things and what she had to learn to do to survive mentally. So while we're in the thought, or while our client is in the thought, and before the emotion, or upon recognizing the emotion, we've gone back to the thought to discuss the thought. This is where the work happens. So Byron Katie says, you have to ask the question, is that true? So whatever it is that your thought was, ask the question, is that true? Okay, so most of the time, our human minds are going to say, well, of course it's true. Absolutely. Absolutely it's true, right? Because that's a knee-jerk reaction, because our ego wants to defend ourselves. So we have to go to the second question, which is that absolutely true? Or could there be exceptions? Or could there be variances? Could there be? And that second step kind of opens up the mind to if there are situations that may be different, right? So the third step in the work is to ask yourself the question, how do I feel when I think that thought? Or if you were coaching a client, you could say, well, how does that make you feel? When you think that thought, that your deal in Montana is not going to close now, not going to happen, how does that make you feel? Well, it makes me angry, or whatever it is, but let them express themselves, right? And we need to do the same for ourselves. How does that make me feel when I think that thought? And then the last step question is, how would I feel, or how would you feel, if you let that thought go? Because there's a recognition that it's not an absolute. So the thought is creating the reality, which may not be the reality. So when we focus on the thought, how do we feel? And if we just let that thought go away, how does that make you feel? Right? So I try to do this work all the time, and I'll give you a personal example. This morning, I was thinking about my youngest daughter, who, when I divorced her mother, was 11 years old. Old age, right? So my other three kids, great. Yeah, I've always had a great relationship. That youngest one, I don't even know why, but she just said, that's it. No more dad. Dad's abandoning me. No more dad, or whatever story she told happened, right? And so I tried throughout the years to reach out to her and all these things. So this morning I played another song that I love, which is called "That's Not What I Meant to Say" by Daughtry. And I play that whenever I think about that daughter and the injustice of her turning on me, the injustice of it. If I can only tell her the truths about what happened in the marriage, she would just be all, but I never did it and I never will do it. Can't. Right? So I just have to deal with what is. And yet it's been now, so many years of no communication with my own daughter. Each time I try to reach out, she just basically kicks mud in my face. That's my story, right? Kicks mud in my face, so to speak. And so we just have no relationship. So I feel this incredible injustice. And I listen to that song and it makes me feel justice. It makes me feel, yep, that's how it is, because the words of the song say, basically quit whining to me or whatever with a good tune to it. And so I have to go and use the steps, right? So I just go through this thought model, which I had to do this morning. Because I was listening to the song and I was buying into the song and I was saying, oh yeah, that daughter, I ought to give her a piece of my mind. I ought to do, all the things I ought to do. And then I had to go back and go through the steps. And when I go through the steps, it helps me become calm. It helps me with every situation we deal with in real estate. It brings peace and calm when you understand mind management, that it's our minds and it's the minds of our clients that are creating a reality. It doesn't have to be there. Because once that emotion hits, once we allow the emotion to hit, because of the stories we tell in our mind about the event, it's all over, right? So we got to backtrack from the emotion, go back to the thought, which I had to do this morning, and say, and go through the steps, is that true? Is that youngest daughter of mine really a witch? No. But I didn't say witch. I had to say, no, she's like, honestly, she's like one of the sweetest people. Yeah, she's one of the sweetest people I've ever known in my life, is that little girl. Who's now almost 30 little girl, but so then I had to go through this and realize, when I think about this, how does it make me feel? How do you imagine it makes me feel? Well, angry and a victim and all the things. And I have to say, if I let go of that thought that she's a witch, which she's really not. So if I let go of that thought, how does that make me feel? Right? I mean, it's amazing, the work. And that's Byron Katie from, she's written it in a couple of her books, but one of them, the one I first read was called Loving What Is. So as we go through a market now where we're having deals fall out, a lot of buyers not qualifying last minute, a lot of people changing minds last minute because of their own fears and things. My hope is this will both help you dealing with your own mind management, but also help you understand a little bit about how you can coach your clients out of the fear, back to the thought, and deal with the thoughts. Any questions? Obviously, it's a subject that I feel great passion about and love this subject. So I was excited to share this with you. So.
Hey, John, I got a question.
Yes, sir. Sure.
I was thinking I was a couple of minutes late, but it looks like this is towards negative emotions towards the business and personal life.
Well, it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be that you fall in love with someone. Oh, I just love this person. Is that true? Is that absolutely true? How do I feel when I think about it? So you go through the same steps, whether it's a positive or negative. I think you go through the same steps.
Question everything.
Yeah.
I have an observation. So the song that you played at the very beginning was the Stevie Nicks song.
Right.
The funny thing is that when the music was played, that's also the background music for a Destiny Child song. And I thought of Destiny Child. So to me, this is kind of like, you don't know where a person's coming from. So when you start asking these questions and trying to get an understanding of their emotions, you're working with where your starting point is, and they're working with where their starting point is. And it could be two totally different observations of the same.
So how do you get to theirs?
You ask. You have to ask.
Yeah. Gotta ask a lot of questions.
You have to ask those questions that you were, of yourself and of them, of
Right.
what you have up there.
And by asking them the questions, not only do you find out where they're coming from, but you're also demonstrating to them that your concern is them.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing
Sometimes
to
they get
use.
to hear their own story without you planting the seed.
And sometimes when they repeat their story, they're like, "That's really good." You know, I've had people do that to me in the past. They'll repeat their story and go, that doesn't make any sense. Good point, Mark. Okay, well, thank you.
The white,
Now it's releasing it with the right words. Oh.
Like the white-winged duck.
the white-winged dove. All right. And that's not me. I'm not white-winged dove. All right, we're gonna shift things, no pun intended, to shift. Anybody brought their book with them? I see Tracy over there being an A-star student. We're on page 29, and I want to read what's on the top there. It says, it's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. I'm going to repeat it. It says it's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. So how I interpret that is that change is going to happen regardless. Either you change with it or you don't. Right? So, and continue to say the change is easy and significant change is downright difficult, yet long-term success requires it. Right? And I think that's what the tactic 2 comes in, which is remargin your business and expense management. So as we talk about this, I just kind of want to get your guys' ideas on how can you manage your expense? What are some ways for us to do that? Red light, green light. What does that mean?
Before you make a purchase, you need to figure out if it's gonna actually add your bottom dollar.
Yeah. Or do I spend my commission check before I see my,
Oh, yeah. Budget.
right? I'm getting this closing, I'm gonna get 20 grand and boom, I'm gonna go buy this. Next thing you know, same thing like John said, the buyer fell out or the interest point went up and they can't qualify. And now you're missing on the 20 grand and then the 10 grand you spent. So now you're down 30, right? So keep in mind on those things like, okay, you know, don't do anything until you have the money. Like you tell your clients, don't open a new credit card,
Yeah.
don't go buy a car
Right.
until you have the keys in your hand and the day has passed, right? So same thing that you want to get into the same habit, you know, either it's a laptop or it's a house or whatever it is. Just wait till you have the money. Okay, so red light, green light, what are other ways? Expense management.
Budget.
Budget, explain what that is. I don't know what budget is.
Well, it's new to me too.
I mean, you said the word, right?
Creating a plan for where your money is going when you do get it.
I like that. So creating a plan for where your money is going, right? So do we all have a plan? Who doesn't have a plan? Right, so it's creating a plan where money is going. So we go back to the same 20,000 we're gonna get, where the money is gonna go. And I think the one thing we all miss is Uncle Sam. Number one, so are you taking that money out first,
Yes.
right? Or are you putting that money into that purchase you just made, you know, before closing, right? Or are you putting some money into savings? Do you have 6 months of reserves? And if you don't, then based on your budget, how much of that commission is going to get allocated, right, to that? And if you are telling me you don't have a budget, trust me, you have one, like Mark King says, it's just a bad one, right? So what other ways?
P&L review,
P&L review. What is a P&L?
profit and loss statement.
Oh, who has one of those? And who reviews those regularly? Do you review regularly? Right? Kind of, right? So why aren't we reviewing?
We don't mind your money minds you.
Ooh. Right? So if you don't have a P&L, I highly suggest you get one. And the easiest way to do that is Excel, track your numbers. There's a CGI report, there's Excel, QuickBooks, hire somebody, right? And like Lene was saying earlier, that you're in a different place and somebody else is starting from a different place. And maybe you want to start with an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe you want to hire a bookkeeper. I don't know. Figure it out and put that in your budget. You know, QuickBooks is $27 a month. Can I afford that? I don't know, right? But does my budget allow us for that? Right? So keep that in mind. So P&L. Okay, so great. What other ways? I don't have any either. I thought somebody's gonna come up.
Understanding your return on investment.
Huh?
Understanding your return on investment.
Return on investment. What is that? What is a return on investment?
How much you made versus how much you put into it.
Yeah, so what's the return on the money that you're investing,
Spent on it.
right? So for example, that you're gonna hire a bookkeeper, right, for your P&L. What's your ROI on that? Right? Am I gonna get a report weekly? Am I gonna get a report monthly? What do I have to do for them in order for them to give me the report? Right? And same thing with a budget. Why do I want a budget? You know, what's my return on investment on a budget? Right? So keep those things in mind as, you know, when we're talking about shift. And I'm gonna go to page 31, who we're following, but there's a quote by Charlie Munger. He says, name a business that has been ruined by downsizing. I can't name one. Name a company that has been ruined by bloat. I can name dozens. Right? And the book continues to talks about that, how when, you know, the market is up, everybody's making good money, and we go to hire more employees, we get more infrastructure, right? And we keep growing. And then what happens when things start to shift? Did you plan for that? Right? Are you planning for the shift? Do you have a budget? Are you operating on a red light, green light? Do you have a P&L? Right? And what's your ROI on anything that you have? Questions, comments so far? No? Okay. All right. Most agents tend to think they are as good as their last best year instead of the average over their careers. So are you operating based on your last year? Right? Because I think 2019, I heard somebody say, man, this is the best year ever. In 2020, I heard somebody says, oh man, this was the best year ever. Right? And last year, it was the same thing. It was the best year ever. Right? So have you gone to a point that you're operating on your best year ever? Or are you following the model? Right? And you have enough reserves. Right? I'll tell you a story. COVID hit. Was it March? Right? It was March. And I know that in our office, everybody freaked out because we all saw that pause, right, for 2 months. What's going to happen? You know, we're going to get more sales, or what's going on with the market? And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, why is everybody panicking? Maybe because they didn't have the reserves, right? Or maybe because, you know, I was naive, I was new, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'll handle this. You know, I don't know, but I truly had 6 months of reserves. I had 6 months of personal, and I had 6 months of business. And I mapped out, even if I don't make any more sales from this March to 6 months forward, I'm okay. Right? But at the same time, I knew I will make a sale. If not this month, I will make it next month. Right? So kind of trying to say the same thing, like, are you operating on this? And then I got comfortable towards the end of the year and the next year. I forgot about this. I forgot about that. I had to downsize, right? So, and now, like, you know, I'm going back to the fundamentals, right? Do I have 6 months of reserves? If I don't, then that commission check that's coming, how much of that is gonna get allocated to that fund? Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 0.5%, maybe it's 5%, I don't know. And the only way you would know is if you have a budget. Because you know what your expenses are. You're reviewing your P&Ls. And then you know how much of that you can put into this bucket. And then how much of that you can put in the next one, right? Questions, comments? No? All right. Keep moving on here. Feels like I'm alone in here. Yes.
Are you, I like what you're saying about each check. Are you doing that now? Each percentage is going, dropping in. So this commission check, there's a percentage. dropping in.
Yes, so I'm an S corporation, right? I pay myself every month. So the way I currently have set up is every check I get, 20% get cuts and goes into savings. Right? And when I pay myself, ADP already has an automatic deduction of another 20% that goes into my personal savings. So each month I'm saving 40% of whatever it is I'm making. Correct. Right? And then I will continue to do that until I hit a milestone. Right? And after that, you have to rebudget, right? Because you fill that bucket. So now either you will continue to do that, you may decrease the percentage, you may increase the percentage, right? Or you may get a new bucket. I don't know, right? And then you will continue to fulfill the new buckets or the old buckets, depending on what it is.
So out of that pay, are you then saving for Uncle Sam or are you saving for that? That's not your paycheck.
The paycheck is not for Uncle Sam.
No, no, but you still have to save for taxes. I mean, if you do it off, okay, so you're saying off of every one of your deals, if it goes into your S corp, you're taking a percentage out of those deals?
Correct.
To save, okay.
Correct.
Before it comes to your paycheck.
Correct. And then when I get the paycheck, then there's another cut. So those are my buckets. Your could be differently. I'm not telling you to follow my model because it may not work for you or it will not work for you. Right? So whatever it is, you figure it out. Hey, I'm going to do 1%. And it's okay. You ain't got to tell nobody. Right? I started with 1%, but you got to do it.
And you have to re-examine it because the more money you make, the more your changes and the bucket changes, right? I might start at 5%, but now I make it 150, so now I've got up my percentage to the government. Right?
Correct.
So it depends on where you're at. It's a constant re-examining and checking it out and playing with the numbers, just like you do on red light, green light, your profit and loss every single month, weekly for us.
Yeah. And so great. She's doing weekly, maybe do bi-weekly, maybe you do a monthly. I don't know. Figure out your schedule because if you don't, when this happens,
You're in trouble.
you're going to be in trouble. Big trouble. Because Uncle Sam's going to come for the money.
I know personal agents who quit their business because they couldn't pay their taxes. Right? They delayed, they didn't put money aside, so they're back to an 8 to 5, right? To get stuff paid. So just don't fall in it. It's really easy to get that check and not put that money aside. It's so easy. Especially as realtors, because we wait sometimes a while to get that check, right? So you have expenses that you put off, right? But you have to keep in mind that those other expenses are there and they run no matter what.
Yep. And you got to hold yourself accountable to do that. Right. And I think this next underlying quote that I have, it says, whatever happens first is equal and without choice. What happens next is unequal and determined by choice.
What page are you on?
34. Sorry.
So can you read it again?
What happens first is equal and without choice, right? What happens next is unequal and determined by choice. Because what happens out there is not under your control, but what happens in here is in your control, right? So make sure you're realigning and readjusting as you go forward. You will need to, because if you don't, sooner or later, it's going to come out and you're not going to like it. 12, I have some time. Okay. Page 35, they're talking about rebudgeting. And then one thing I really like what they said on there was cut expenses first, find your margins fast. So when you're looking at your P&L, figure out where you're spending a lot of your money and how can you bring it down? Or can you bring it down?
And one of the great things, and this is not for me, this was from a mentor years ago, suggested that at the beginning of every year, when you do your, every day, some January, March, whatever, when you look at that and cancel your debit card every year at that time, because we get so used to having automatic expenses that we sign up for every year as a real estate agent, that when you close that debit card, everybody has to reach out to you now instead of you reaching out to them. Do I want to sign up for this again? Did this give me a red light, green light? Did I make money on this year? Should I sign up for this year? And it is amazing. We just did it again, and it's amazing what you find out that you signed up for. 1102 for this, 1302 for this, 4263 for this. It is amazing. So the one thing I can, impart upon you that if you cancel that business card once a year, right? Because people will have to reach out to you and you can analyze what you want, what you don't want, and it does save you money in the long run.
Yep. And I think this quote goes pretty handy with that. It says by David Fogg, by Burbank, California, page 34. This year, I cut every marketing medium I used. When asked to continue, I offered half of what I paid before. I was surprised how many said yes. It's kind of like when you call Comcast, right? They will slash it in half another year, and then there you go. Or if you don't, before you know it, it was $334. What the hell was I watching?
Also, I think if for anyone who has their commission check going into their personal account, separate, we'll do that.
Yeah, that's a whole another story. But stop commingling your business expenses and income with your personal. Even if you're not an S corporate yet. It doesn't cost you anything to get a business account. Right? So do that and then create an LLC and protect yourself. Right? The first step to financial recovery is to stop doing the wrong things, page 35. Right? So P&L is going to reveal what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. Right? And then how you put a stop to it. Right? Page 36, cutting expenses is so painful, but your pocketbook will thank you later. Right? $2 here, $4 here, $5. I don't know. I looked at my eating out. I'm like, holy crap. I could buy a grocery store with this. Right? So now I'm spending Sunday afternoons cooking. Right? And meal planning and all that. So, to be an effective money manager, you must be a budget bully. Huh?
Sounds like that's right.
Yeah. Right? You have to be harsh on yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to get caught in it and eventually it's going to catch up to you and you're not going to like it. Right? So I urge you to do that. And the last thing I underlined on page 36 was that taking advantage of the maximum number of opportunities and making the minimum number of errors. Right? So what are more opportunities out there that you can take advantage of? And what is the least amount of errors you can do? And you can only get better at it over time. You're not going to get to that 10% tomorrow. Like, don't go there tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to start doing 20% here or 20% here. Probably not going to work. Right? Maybe you have to start with 1. And then go eventually go to 5 and eventually go to 10 and eventually go to 20 and then keep going from there. Right? Things got to evolve. It's kind of like, it took me 32 years to be 32 years old, right?
1% better every time.
Right? So it's a slow thing, but it works. So questions, thoughts, comments? All right, well, okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. The next thing, we have Dylan here. I think he's going to join us virtually to talk about KW perks.
So thank you guys. I was going to be there in person, but my family's not doing too well. We're kind of all sick, so I don't want to get all you guys sick because that's just not a nice thing to do. So I am Dylan. I'm with Capstone Financial. We're in a partnership. We're running KW Perks, which is the benefits package that was announced at the family reunion. What was that? 3 months ago now? 2 months ago. Pardon me, 2 months ago now. It's kind of been, the lawyers have gotten involved, so it's taking a little bit longer, but everything is up and running. Just the marketing stuff is a little behind schedule. So I'm out here doing this. To give you an idea of how local I am, most of you guys know where the Aquatic Center in Federal Way is. I'm a block and a half from there. So I'm as local as a guy as you're going to get for at least for your office. I am going to try and limit it to questions because I'm not sure how much other stuff we have going on today. I know the last time I did this presentation, it took us about an hour because the questions just never, ever stopped. So I am working with Goldie and a few other of your leadership to find a time, sometime maybe next week, to just have an office and sit down and anybody can come in and ask individual questions or whatever with me. So, but I'll try and cover the important ones that I've seen in the past. So this is the base. This is the base of everything. So up here, just go to kwperks.com. It'll bring you to this website. Over here on the right, this is where you're going to punch in your information. So you can see here, I punched in some information. That's not my date of birth, but it's close enough. And you can click calculate and get yourself a quick quote. I will walk through those. For those of you who have big teams, so right here, are you a business owner with W-2 employees on your staff? Click here. So if any of you guys have assistants or marketing people or anybody that's a W-2, you're going to be able to help get them benefits through you as well, which is really cool. Something like this has never really existed before out there. The biggest difference, we are not a vendor. We are in partnership with you guys. So this has been in the works for 3 years now. They've been doing it down in Georgia and Florida for 3 years to kind of get all the kinks out and make sure we've got everything buttoned up. So put all your stuff in here, click calculate, and wait for the little blue circle of death to go through. And sorry for that. I hate pop-ups, but they never stop. So up here, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but you're going to see there's business plan, health savings account, dental, vision, cybersecurity, worksite benefits, and there's more stuff coming. I can't tell you what it is yet, but it is coming down the road. Down here, these are the 3 health plans that are available. So you'll see the different numbers. These are your deductibles. So 2,500, 5,000, or 10,000. And these are live quotes. So these quotes are good for right now, which is really, really cool. If you ever want to get into the details of what's available, just click on plan summary details. I'll show you very briefly. You can see there's a whole lot of stuff listed here. Again, this is something, if you guys have individual questions, I'll be happy to answer them. The biggest question we have is my doctor in network? So if you click down here to find a medical provider, find a provider. When you select network, you're going to do PHCS. This is the largest PPO network in the country. And we're just going to click family practice, and we're in 98023, right?
98003.
I can barely hear you. I'm sorry. Why is this being difficult? There we go. And we click search, and within 20 miles of us, there's 290 different family practice doctors. You can search by language they use. You can search by hospital affiliations. You can search by pretty much anything, which is pretty nice. A couple others. So how many of you guys know what an HSA is, or health savings account?
No, there's some hands in the room.
Okay. Sorry, I can only see Guru at the front. I can't see the rest of you. I'm sorry. So the nice part is, if you have a qualifying health insurance, you can go with a health savings account. The cool part is this money can continue to be rolled over. So let's say you don't have any medical expenses this year. Maybe you just do your one annual checkup and you're going to have a $50 or $100 copay or deductible. Well, all the money you put into this rolls into the next year and the next year and the next year and keeps rolling. And with this one, you can actually invest it so it can actually be making money, just like a 401k or an IRA or a registered account would. So if you are really healthy for many, many years, and then all of a sudden you have a lot of medical expenses, this can kick in to help cover a lot of those. The one thing I forgot to mention in these plans, vision is included. So some people need vision insurance. I have my glasses. I definitely do. Some people don't. You can get dental on the side, either just preventative or premier, depending on what your need is. Again, vision, you can get it out on your own if you don't need this. So, your spouse works for the state of Washington, you have good health insurance, but you need vision or dental available through here. Cybersecurity is pretty straightforward. This is just going to protect you in the event of you open up something, a phishing email on your laptop or something like that. The last one here is voluntary benefits. This is short-term disability. What they've done is they've given a couple of different options. It covers for up to 6 months, and it has different benefits as well as hospital indemnity, which is huge. If you end up in the hospital, it's not going to probably pay your medical bills, but it's going to cover a good chunk of them. For a lot of people, this is pretty important. A lot of people don't think about it. So as me being an independent contractor, if I all of a sudden can't work for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months because of an illness or an injury, what happens to your income? It pretty much disappears. So I think Guru was mentioning making sure you have 6 months sitting in savings. Well, that's good, but is that enough? Or do you have that now? Or is that something you're building towards? So this is something that, in our opinion, is very important. So let me ask, how many people here have had a family member that has been sick or ill or injured for more than 6 months and hasn't been able to work? I'm guessing there's some hands raised.
No.
No.
Yep.
Well, yeah, now I have to tell you my life story. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that. So I'm going to use my mother. My mother is a breast cancer survivor. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, had to go through all the stuff, chemo, radiation, the works. Well, she was unable to work 100% for about 8 months between going to the medical facilities and, being on recovery and all that stuff. And even after that 8 months, it still took her about another 6 months to be fully recovered back to 100%. So one of the things that we do, and why is this doing this? Down here, long-term disability insurance. Here is what some people way above all of our pay grades, somebody at KWRI and somebody at Capstone at the top, went out and found discounted long-term disability insurance. To give you an idea, it's cheaper than I can get it, and I work for the companies. So what they did is they went out and they said, okay, normally it's based on your industry and your sex. Well, they went to a unisex discount, which is already cheaper than male, female, and they knocked 35% off on top of that. So what their goal is if this is something that's important to you, you're going to be able to get it through KW Perks, through us, at a bigger discount you're ever going to be able to get anywhere, including the guy who works with the company that is selling it.
And those are the 3 options up above, the 145 and all that. That's what you're talking about. Or is this separate?
Sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you.
Is that the 3 options up above, or is this something separate?
So this is something separately because it's part of it is based on income, so it can't be, we require more information, but it's something that I individually can help you with. But it's still being run through the KW Perks system on our end. So I guess I went through really fast, so I guess I have time for a few questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope, looks like no questions.
Okay. Well, I know that I think I talked to Goldie and we're gonna get some contact information. We're gonna email out to everybody. If you guys have questions, you guys are welcome to contact me. And then, like I said, I'll try and spend sometime in the next few weeks in your guys' office, and we'll let everybody know when I'm gonna be there, and you guys can just drop in and ask questions as you see.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks, guys. I don't know how to unpin me. I'm sorry. I'm tech dumb.
Let me stop screen share.
Stop telling yourself
There
that.
you go.
There you go.
There we go. I got it, I think.
All right, thank you. Moving on, food around the world event. It's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow from 12:30 to 2:30. Here in the large training room, it's hosted by the culture committee. To sign up, you can use the QR code below. I have had special requests. Yes, I've already bought stuff, and I think Dad's gonna prepare, or he might even cook it. I don't know. I'll find out when I get home. But yes, I'll be bringing something tomorrow, you like it or not. But because last one was like, we don't want bone-in chicken. I'm like, you said traditional food, and that's how it's made. Huh? Chicken curry. Bone-in. Good. Yeah. So I'm using the light quarters if anybody's interested in like what I used. Anyway. Yeah, we still need people bring stuff because I think the last time I cooked was like pre-COVID on Thanksgiving get together when we were at the older office. Yeah, and everybody ate the chicken and left all the ham. Everything was sitting there. I'm like, they're like, is there more chicken coming? I'm like, I thought this was a potluck. So bring your stuff and eat it too. Okay, thank you. All right, let's keep moving. All right, win-win negotiation with Tyler Holloway. It's on Thursday, April 14th. So it's the day after tomorrow, from 12:30 to 4:30 in here. If you want to sign up, you can scan that code, or I believe the Facebook page also has links for you to sign up. Questions on that? Oh. Okay, more food. Waffle Bar Spring Celebration is on April 19th, day after. We'll keep this train going from 10 to 11:30 a.m. And the business meeting to follow at 12:30. Also, it's next Tuesday.
So the business meeting will be in Kent.
Yep. So Kent office. Oh, I don't even know this is happening. Okay. So it's before the business meeting. Join us for waffles and all the toppings for spring celebrations, and you can sign up on the code. And again, it's on Facebook. I'll bring my lunch. Thank you very much. Okay, Red Day is coming up. Of course, May 12th, 2022. More information coming soon. It was weird. I was looking at the shirt. I had the shirt from last year. I was like, oh, I wonder what it is. Okay, sweet. Thank you. Specialty transactions with John Hanson. Questions? What was that? Oh, it's Zoom only, May 9th. I think they're focusing on Form 35E. And what time is it? Where is that?
In the middle, 22, well, that says 22.
No, I'm talking about this one right here. May 9th is missing.
Over here.
On the right. I think they're always 2 to 3.
Oh, okay, there we go. 35E, May 9th. I'm like, where is it? Thank you. What? Oh. Career visioning and 30, 60, 90. with Lucas. It's at the Hilton Airport and Conference Center in Seattle, April 27th and 28th, from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Cost $350. So who has been to this class before? No? All right, if you are thinking about it, this is in person. I did the Zoom one. I hope I did the in-person one because there's a lot more interaction. So cost you $350 and it's local, so you don't have to fly anywhere. I highly recommend taking this class if you're thinking about hiring people anytime soon, or even if you want to get familiar with the hiring process and the KPA. So, all right, ESO. I have yet to. Cody Gibson is coming. So I don't know if you know who Cody is. This guy's freaking amazing. I'll go to Boise. I don't care. So it's in person at KW Boise, May 31st, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it's $299. Cody has been a MAPS Bowl coach. I think they've sold about 1,117 homes under contract in 2021. So you can do the math on how many homes they sell in a month. He's director of expansion for growth for KWRI. He's been around for 22 years. I believe he started out in Alaska. And then they do about 140 to 160 homes a month. So really great guy. If you haven't heard from him, I would say check him out on KW Connect. A lot of good stuff over there. So Mega Camp is coming up August 23rd, 24th. Early bird tickets are on sale. You can just Google it. It will take you there. It's in Austin, like always. I will be there. I believe I'm going, but who else is going? Debbie's going? Good. Anybody else? No? Well, think about it. Barbecue. Really good barbecue there. And that's it. If nobody has any questions, everybody have a great day. And thank you for allowing me to host.
Thanks.
And-